This is Andy Purewal, Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm joined by David Price over Zoom. David, I think I've just disturbed your lunch, but I hope you're good. How's life?
Oh, mate, all good, yeah. All good. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Obviously, as always, it's a pleasure to catch up with you. Since we last spoke, how's life been treating you?
Good, yeah. Busy, just keeping busy. Spoke before, didn't we, about the footy season, all that going on. So yeah, can't complain, Andy. Everything's good. Keeping fit, looking after myself, and healthy, enjoying life.
I mean, just for those who weren't obviously privy to our conversation earlier, you mentioned kind of you I don't want to say falling back in love with it because you never necessarily fell out of it, but just kind of following football again as another hobby for you now. How much are you enjoying that?
Ah, great. I'm enjoying it. I mean, before I started taking boxing seriously, that was like my everything was going to watch Liverpool home and away, going to match. And then because my lad, he's 11 now, he's really got the bug for going the game. Then I'm with him type of thing, and I've got it back. So I'm enjoying it because I've got more time to spend following the football because I'm not in the gym as much. And when in between training, I was having to rest. I couldn't really be going the match every weekend. Me personally, I needed to take as much rest as I could. So I'd get away and go to the games as much as I could, but a lot of the time I was just trying to recover for the following week. So now I can enjoy it, and I can, it's a good time to be a Liverpool fan anyway. But I'm enjoying it again. It's good.
So we're expecting to see you following them up and down the country next season?
No, I don't know about that. Like, the tickets are like the away tickets are like rocking all shit. Can't get them. But I'll go the home games, I'll go the finals, go all the big games, and any away games we can go, I'll go. But yeah, we'll just follow them whether it's in spirit or in person. That will be there.
David, obviously, I'm glad to know that you've got another hobby to keep you occupied now. But as always, kind of catching up, a lot of heavyweight talk just to work through. Just first, I want to get your thoughts on the fight which has recently been announced, a rematch which I don't think anybody would have expected happening. Is one between Derek Chisora and Kubrat Pulev on July 9th. What's your thoughts on it, David?
Um, yeah, why not? Why not? Two fighters who were at similar levels. They fought each other before, obviously, but it was a few years ago now, and I think things have changed a little bit. Pulev's the wrong side of 40 now. He's not getting any younger. He suffered a knockout defeat to AJ in the process in the meantime. Derek, as well, always been in a lot of hard fights since then. So the first fight probably isn't something to gauge because, truth be told, Pulev won that fight pretty easily. Because I remember at the time comparing Pulev's win against Derek to Dillian White's wins against Derek, and they didn't really compare. It was a lot more one-sided, Pulev's win against Derek. So, but I don't think that'll be the issue this time. I think last time Derek didn't even have a proper trainer. I think I just called someone in last minute. This time, don't always training him, but he just seems to have his head right, loving the game, and these are the type of fights which there is a market for, Andy. I think, and I've always said that, because there's there's the elite, there's the best, which everyone wants to watch, but then there's also these exciting fights just below that level, which are top fighters fighting each other, and you want to see it. Why not? I think it's a good fight. For all the fights out there, it comes as a surprise, but I was receptive to it because the styles gelled well last time, and they're both characters in their own way. Bulev's a bit of a crank, and he's a bit nuts himself. So it'll be interesting.
I mean, we saw Kubrat come out with kind of an aggressive approach with Anthony Joshua when they fought, and we know Derek just loves to kind of just goes for it. His war, as he says. Um, what's your actual expectations for this fight, David? Do you expect them both to be as aggressive as what we've seen?
Yeah, well, I think they don't. Neither of them really know any different. Kubrat Pulev's a typical Eastern European stand-up jabber, great jab, Pulev. I've done a lot of work with him in the gym over the years, and even before, go right back to before the Olympics, we were on a camp together in Béjat in France for the 2008 Olympics, and we worked with each other right up to the games. Now, it's almost as though I wouldn't be surprised if he was a left-handed orthodox puller, because his jab is that strong. Even his jabs to the body, just a stiff jab to the belly, you'll always feel the power. His right hand, he telegraphs it a little bit, so you can see it coming. It isn't the punch that you're going to get knocked out by, because you can see it and you can anticipate it and brace type of thing. So he's a front foot fighter. He likes to keep that front foot in the opponent's space, to keep them working even when he's not throwing. And that's how he'll fight against Derek. He's not going to go on the back foot and start going for a walk and, you know, twitching and fainting. It's just not his style. He's going to try and use his attack as his defense and stop Derek from coming forward with the jab. And when he does get close, he'll hold. And that's where Derek's going to have to work. And he is quite inactive in the clinch puller. He'll throw the odd rabbit punch down the back of the head. But he can't work up close, because it's that Eastern European style, and he's 41. He's not going to change now. Whereas Derek can work up close. When I fought Derek, it was in the first round. I held Derek, tried to hold and thought and he kept punching and caught me at the top of the head and like kind of, you know, staggered me a little bit. So he can do damage up close, Derek, and that's what's done the damage against me. And I can't remember the first fight against Pulev, but I'm not sure if he's done it that often. But if he does get close, he's got to work while Pulev's trying to clinch it and just try and bust him up on the inside, and it'll have an accumulative effect, I think, as the fight goes on. But it's, if you're just looking at Pulev's age, you'd say it's a 50-50 fight, but probably Pulev's the favourite, because he's been there and done it before. He's not fazed by anyone like Derek Chisora either, by the way, because he's fucking nuts himself. So he's not bothered. And he loves it. He's still going. He doesn't need to fight. He's fought AJ, he's fought Klitschko. He's probably got a nice few quid in the bank, but he just loves to get fit and train and fight. And fit is one thing he is as well. With he'll go the 12 rounds at a pace with Derek. And Derek's pace is hot, it's red hot, it brings the heat. He'll do the same. And honestly, I think it's a great fight. Really do.
Dave, where do you think the winner can go from here, given the stage of their careers and just looking at the heavyweight division in itself? What do you feel either of them will want to go on to do beyond this?
I'm not sure. I mean, you look at the likes of Derek and Pulev, who were coming to the end of the careers on paper, and the last thing they want to do is fight an up and coming young lion. That's something where you want to avoid that, because you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be him on the prospects record and the gatekeeper type of thing, which is why it was probably easier for them to make this fight, because, you know, they've probably been offered your Dubois, you know, your Jared Anderson's, fighters like that. They've probably been offered these fights. The likes of Pulev will have. Now, the pride probably, and the head probably thought, these young men, and the good, the bangers, the this, and that, they probably thought, I'm better off fighting someone in the same stage as me. That way, there's kind of less to lose in a way, in a strange way, because them young guns will always still be there looking for that name. So while they want to fight each other, make some money, and then, you know, if they have to, then they fight someone like the up and coming fighters. But the winner, I mean, who knows? Because heavyweight boxing's so forgiving. You know, you can have a stinker and then win a couple of fights, or even win one fight, and next thing the phone will ring and you're gonna get a massive opportunity, because there is always opportunities knocking around in the heavyweight division. If the belts get split up, at some point, or whatever else. There might be a title to go for, but there's still other fights out there like this for either of them. You know, there's Dillian White. The fighters who are losing the world title fights will fall back into that category. And there's still great fights, and there's still good, there's still big money fights for these lads. So I wouldn't look too far ahead for world titles and things like that. But just keep competing at that level until, if you have to fight the one coming through.
Uh, just moving on to another topic then, David. Just get your thoughts on another fight this weekend, Daniel Dubois and Trevor Bryan. What's your take? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Trevor Bryan, it's a strange one, isn't he? He's been a pro for years, and then he's got in that, because whatever he was, WBA regular title or whatever it was, and he's just been inactive. I think I've just looked before, he's only had like 3 fights in 4 years. So I hope he's a gym rat and he just hasn't stayed out the gym, and he's been sparring and, sparring hard, keeping himself sharp, keeping himself hard, because he's up against it against Dubois. Let's face it. I've watched Trevor Bryan, the little footage there is of him, and he looks one paced, slow. His best wins were Mainstaverne, who was shot at that point. Now, if you use comparisons, he stopped with Mainstaverne in the 11th round. Joe Joyce fucking battered Staverne in a few rounds, wasn't it? And despite Dubois hitting his eye against Joe Joyce and having to pull out later on, it took Joe Joyce, was it 10 rounds or
10.
yeah, 10 rounds, and his eye had gone early, and I've spoken about it before. I think he showed incredible art in that fight to get as far as he did. So I'm just trying to compare. I think Trevor Bryan's in for a tough night, because Dubois is explosive. He's got Shane McGuigan training him. I don't know if that's a good move or not. Time will tell. Each trainer has their own style of training fighters. Heavyweights are a little bit different. Dubois' explosiveness and it's just a solid style of fighting. Should see him right. I think he could have a fella out the street in his corner on Saturday night, and I think he'd win this fight. But it's just about where it's going to take him after it.
David, if you could matchmake Daniel's next fight, who would you say would be a good test, and one which would be more durable, and one which would make him need to kind of dig deep a little to show that he belongs above, say, a Trevor Bryan?
If it was managing Dubai, you're talking Derek Chisora. Chisora's perfect, but like I said before, Derek, I don't see Derek taking these fights. It's his pride. He doesn't want to be the one who loses to the young up and coming fighter, but he'd be perfect. He'd be perfect. Top of my head, like a decent. You got to go down the American route, I suppose. Chris Ariola, maybe someone like that. But I think he probably walked through him.
What about Andy Ruiz?
Andy Ruiz, that isn't, again, that Andy Ruiz isn't a gatekeeper. I don't think he'd go for it. I don't think I think he'd say, well, no, I'm not him who's fighting this up and coming. I'm not here to save him. I'm on my own path to regain the world championship. So I don't think that'd be a realistic one. But on paper, yeah, great. Yeah, it's going to be tough to match, and the same with Dillian White. There's no way Dillian White would take it. Too much to lose. And then who else have you got? Who else is out there now in England? You've got what? Dave Allen still fighting?
He's just announced he's come back, but I think he's looking for the Babic fight.
I don't think Dave would take that fight again for the same reason. It's going to take a lot of money to get someone to do it for the start, because it's danger money with Dubois. He's a dangerous fighter. You're getting in there and you're putting yourself at risk more than fighting, another or someone else. So, tell you, he's a good fight for him if he's still fighting. I don't know whether he is, though. Duapers, the French fella.
Okay.
Carlos Takam. Someone like that, Carlos Takam would be a good one. And he'd take it, 1,000,000%. So I think that's where, like, no, he hasn't fought him already, has he? Has Joe Joyce fought?
Joe Joyce fought him and stopped him.
Yeah, stopped him. Joe Joyce just stops everyone, though.
Yeah.
but you can't compare Joe Joyce because he's like a bit of a freak in his own category. But yeah, Takam's a good one. Yeah, I'll have to stroll through BoxRec and have a little look and see who's there.
David, also got you. I just want to get your thoughts on the recent training link up between Anthony Joshua and Robert Garcia. Your thoughts on that? Do you think it's a good move?
I don't know Garcia. I don't know what his ethos is on fighting and training and everything else. So, I mean, if it's a typical California style, you know, American trainer, a lot of heavy bag, a lot of sparring, jumping rope, shadow boxing, basics, going back to basics. But he's obviously trying to get someone to bring the dog out in him, which is what he's going to need. I mean, look, he tried a few different trainers. You know, we used this Angel Garcia for the Ruiz rematch. Boxed brilliantly. You know, it was like Lennox Lewis boxing against David Tua. Light on his feet, lovely jab, finger out to second gear, and just won by a landslide. But it's also for courses. Angel Garcia isn't going to bring out what's needed for Usyk because that won't work for Usyk. So Garcia's probably he's obviously picked him for a reason. You know, because it's a big business decision, which is going to have a big impact on whether he's going to win this fight or not. He's tried a few others and he's seen something in him. So you can only go with what his judgment is. You know, he's trained. So I think of fighters he's trained like Brandon Rios and people like that.
You got Mikey Garcia, who's his brother, Virgil Ortiz now.
Yeah, Ortiz a cracking fighter and an aggressive
fighter.
fighter.
They actually split, but sorry, they've split recently, but he had guided him for the majority of his career so far.
Yeah, so an aggressive fighter, and so you know he's got the experience that's needed as well. Massively experienced in big fights. It's just good that he's done it. He's made his mind up. The longer it went without making his mind up, the less time he had to spend with whoever he picked. It was a surprise though. I didn't see it coming. I don't think anyone did.
David, I saw comments as well from AJ saying that this is the first fight in his career where he's going to have a game plan heading into a fight. Now, obviously, you've worked alongside Robert McCracken previously. What are your thoughts on that, though? Do you believe that to be the case?
No. I mean, unless Joshua's just dismissed any type of information going into the fight and left it in the dressing room and just fought on instinct. You know, he might be talking about it in that way, but there's no way that Robert McCracken or any other trainer for that matter has got someone to where he got to without having a game plan, you know, without having a strategy and tactics. It's just that he might be kind of let it slip that he's just got in the ring and fought on instinct, fought on his adrenaline, and the game plan's out the window. But I don't believe that because we've seen fights where there's obviously been a game plan. There's obviously been a game plan, you know, and in all of his fights probably theoretically, but emotionally and mentally, he might have left it at the door.
One final thing I just want to get your thoughts on, David, before I let you go, is Deontay Wilder has said he will return to the ring. We named a bunch of guys we wouldn't mind seeing face Daniel Dubois earlier, but on the Deontay Wilder front, who would you like to see him get back into the ring with?
Yeah, great news, by the way. I think it's great news because I think he was fantastic against Fury, especially in the last fight. You know, great news for the heavyweight division. As far as opponents are concerned, Andi Ruiz is obviously the obvious choice. He's going to want big fights. Someone like Adam Kalnatsky, maybe just to get him back in going again. So he can drill and get his confidence back up because there's a fine line between having a confidence fight and having a bit of a knockover for someone who's an ex-heavyweight champion. So they're going to have to play it right. They could even go over old ground, maybe someone who he's fought in the past, and maybe give him rounds and being a bit of a later stoppage for him. Do it that way, but he needs to come back fight because he's had three tough fights, and two of them were beatings. So he needs to rebuild, but it's fantastic, I think, for boxing that he's back, because he's one of them characters that the sport needs, and his fighting style is so good. So yeah, great news.
Right, David, we'll leave that there now. I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. It's a pleasure to catch up with you as always, and thanks for speaking to me in Boxing Social.
You're welcome. See you soon, mate.